The Fountain is a movie based on spiritual awakening and possibly past and future lives. I'm Mark Beale. I'm a spiritual therapy trainer with the Past Life Awakening Institute, so I'll analyze and explain the movie from my professional point of view. I'll look at key scenes and key themes as talking points for issues involved with past life regression, between lives, spirit releasement, and spiritual awakening. The Fountain is artfully vague. It lets us make basic initial assumptions, then forces us to revise them and consider other perceptions of reality. The visuals are full of symbolism, especially touching on Christian love and eternal life, and Buddhist reincarnation and enlightenment. In real life too, those on the path of spiritual awakening have periods of deeply questioning the assumptions they've made about conventional reality and can become fascinated by exploring hidden meanings. The Fountain is a good metaphor of aspects of the spiritual path. It follows two romantic soulmates through three stories. In the past, in 16th century Mayan Central America, Thomas Verde is a conquistador searching for the tree of life in a Mayan pyramid temple. In the present, in North America, Dr. Tom Creo is a researcher trying to cure brain tumors and aging while his wife Izzy is dying of a brain tumor. Izzy is a writer, and her incomplete manuscript, The Fountain, describes Queen Isabella's issues with the Inquisition and her relationship with Thomas Verde. In the future, in the 26th century, in a biodome spacecraft containing a tree of life, Space Tom heads towards a nebula sacred to the Mayans. Part of the beauty of this movie is the many possible interpretations we can come to. We could see the past and future as works of fiction written by Izzy, that she hands over to Space Tom to write the final chapter, helping him to finally accept and come to peace with death. We could also choose to interpret the movie as portraying past and future lives and some of the principles behind these concepts. While I do these therapies, it's okay for some of my clients to not necessarily have a firm belief about past lives or to take them 100% literally. Often we will, but we can also get the same therapeutic result even if we take them as not literal reincarnations, but interpret them as teaching stories and parables, because either way we can come to a conclusion that realizes spiritual truths. When people think about past lives, they often think, I wonder who I was in a past life. In real life, people have multiple past lives and future lives. So the Fountain is accurate to real life to show a narrative arc, learning lessons and fulfilling karma over a series of lives, not just one. In real life, as a past life therapist, I will often have to elicit multiple past lives and figure out a labyrinth of interconnecting people, events, themes, and their connections. The Fountain illustrates accurately how events in each story can interweave and be causative to each other. One plants the seeds for the next. Preceding lives cast a shadow on the ones to follow. If you have a talent for seeing and grasping the multiple storylines and connections in this movie, you may also have a talent too for past life regression. Whenever we talk about the big picture of time and cause and effect, we're talking about the past and the future. So as well as asking who was I in a past life, we could equally ask, who will I be in a future life? In The Fountain, the Tom 600 years in the future is very likely the same Tom from the present who has, through science and botany, been able to live to be 600 years old by snacking on the bark of the tree of life. So this clearly is science fiction. So let us imagine a scenario which for me is less out there, in which this is a future life, a reincarnation of Tom, just so we can look at the general principles. In real life, when we regress people to a past life, within that session we may also progress them to a future life. So this concept is something that occurs spontaneously in real life, but this does not mean that people can hack and definitively know the future. When we do this in therapy, we can progress to a number of different possible future lives that are determined by our choices in the moment and the future through our thoughts and actions, not just from our past, but also from our present and our immediate future. Tom's choices, thoughts, and actions can lead him in his extended life or future life to continue to be stuck trying to avoid death, therefore failing to let go and move on into a genuine new incarnation or into a spiritual light and realization. Future Tom is stuck in space and time. Reincarnation is based on a continuity of karmic causes and effects that play out over time. Time is relative and subjective. If we take it to an ultimate level, we could say that in truth, ultimately, there is no time. Now, this is an endpoint we might get to and experience if we become enlightened. For the purpose of this movie, the characters, especially Tom, are still very much on a journey through time to work up to learning and realizing spiritual truths. So we can say there are 3 levels of reality. First is conventional reality. We live in human linear time. We're born and die in a physical body, and that's it. 2 is spiritual reality. Our spiritual body reincarnates through time due to our subjective karmic actions and their causes and effects. 3, ultimate reality, is beyond linear time and space and beyond the conscious mind's ability to fully grasp. This is a realm of union with ultimate reality that we could also call God or enlightenment. We could reason that though beyond time, all these lives are simultaneously existing and affecting each other, yet this is less to be reasoned and more to have as a felt experience that leaves you with a peace that passes understanding. In the fountain, all stories may be happening simultaneously in the mind of the author Izzy, though her story is still trying to teach Tom in time to let go of linear time and physical space and realize a spiritual and ultimate truth. The fountain is very character driven, so let's pause to examine the key people. This is something I'll also do regularly in real life in a past life regression session. We can gather all the narrative threads and stories from multiple lives, but then pause to do a character study of the personalities, their motivations and meanings. Now, the names writers choose are significant. The name Isabel means pledged to God. Izzy, an abbreviation of Isabel, is a constant embodiment of wisdom and grace. She accepts death and is aware of her own power to create her own narrative. She gives Tom her nearly finished manuscript and urges him to write the ending. She is trying to teach him to overcome past karmic actions and become the author of his own destiny, so that through his actions in each moment he will be able to free himself. In contrast, Dr. Tom Creo is suffering in his efforts to try to change reality through science while blocking out any of Izzy's teachings to accept reality with grace. Now, the name Thomas has a biblical origin from Aramaic and it means twin. This might suggest that Tom is a twin soul to Izzy. You could also look at it and see that Tom's present and future self can be each other's twins, in contrast to the undivided, transcendent, unified Izzy, perhaps. So that's one theory of the meaning of the name Thomas. More clearly for me, the name Tom invokes doubting Thomas, a disciple of Jesus who is skeptical about Christ resurrected when told about it, without seeing it for himself. Only when Thomas did see Christ resurrected for himself, only then he believed. Christ said to Thomas, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen, yet have believed." Now in this incarnation, Tom is Tom Creo, and Creo is Spanish for I believe. So the name Tom Creo suggests he simultaneously doesn't believe and believes. It suggests Tom had to live 560 extra years to finally learn to believe, whereas blessed Izzy saw or believed without seeing, so she didn't need to reincarnate or try to falsely cling to physical life, and instead found quickly the truth of eternal life. We could interpret Space Tom's biodome as a physical place in space and time heading to a star. We could also see it as Tom's soul being in a spiritual dimension heading towards the light. In real life, there is a modality which is essentially advanced past life regression called between lives regression. In that we say, as your spiritual body goes into the light, it passes fully into a spiritual realm where it experiences a series of 4 key things. Firstly, you meet your spirit guide to get a review of the life you just left. Secondly, you meet the members of your soul group to discuss the interactions you had on your reincarnation in your last life and to discuss possible future reincarnations and interactions in your next life or lives. Thirdly, you can meet a soul council. These are advanced spirits who can help you understand your soul journey across time, not just reviewing your past life, but a number of lives, and pointing out the karmic consequences and spiritual principles and lessons that were involved. Finally, on the spiritual plane, most people finalize their choice for their next reincarnation and leave the spiritual plane and return to the physical world to continue their spiritual education and journey. Consider this. From the point of view of your past life, right now you are in your future life. So for Thomas Verde, his future life is Tom Creo. Tom's soul would have gone into this between lives spiritual dimension after his death as the conquistador chasing the tree of life. He would have chosen to reincarnate with a mind capable of continuing his life's work to use science to prevent aging and sickness in the physical body. Since Tom could not complete his scientific work in time to save Izzy, he'll feel that he has unfinished business. Izzy tried to teach him the grace to accept, to teach him that she had found peace, but he had to see it for himself, and it would take an extra life or an extra 560 years, still trying to resurrect Izzy before he saw the light for himself. So we may have seen the future space biodome as a literal spacecraft heading towards a nebula. Yet there's a possibility this could represent a between lives spiritual dimension where Tom was reviewing his past lives to see if he can integrate his learnings and get the lesson. So instead of going back into a body and again repeating the pattern of mental suffering while trying to ensure physical immortality, he's able to receive the grace that would free him from the cycle of reincarnation and allow him, like Izzy, to be pledged to God or to be at one with the light. His soulmate appeared in a variety of her spiritual forms. Events continued to teach him the inevitable impermanence, aging, and death of all things, including with the tree dying just before he arrives. His past lives played out like a movie, yet with just a few scenes. This is also what tends to happen in real past life regression therapy. We don't have to spend hundreds or tens of hours recalling all the details of our many years and many past lives. Often in past life therapy, we'll also spend an hour going deep into the meaning of a key moment in a past life that may have only taken minutes. So for me, this is accurate according to spiritual regression therapies. So for Tom, the same scene played out again and again of being short-tempered and refusing to be present with her in life because he was too busy trying to save her from death. The ending. Tom finally realizes that he can rewrite that past scene. He finally learns that we cannot do things for the future and do things to run from death. We have to live in the present and be present in life. He finally lets go of his clinging to a scientific solution and followed his soulmate out the door and into the light. When he did this, his present life self could finally act with dignity at her grave, which he could not do at her funeral. He had to learn love is like a flower. Clinging to it with a tight fist will crush it. If you listen to love, you will release your hand and offer an open palm to support it and let it grow. Now we come back to the frames of spiritual reality and ultimate reality. The change Tom made by rewriting his script and updating his present life affected his future life. Time became less linear and more simultaneously intertwined. From an ultimate frame, as Tom went into the nebula, he became a more universal and a less self-orientated personality. Even if it was a personality expressed as a soul over time, Tom may have attempted to avoid death, but Izzy had taught him that death is an act of creation, not destruction, and it is the road to awe. Tom had worked to overcome death as if it was in conflict with life. Yet there is no such conflict. It's not life versus death. There is birth and death, but life has no opposite. All that is born will die, but life is eternal. Even stars are born and die, and they leave the seeds for a new star. The universe itself was born from a singular point where all matter was simultaneous, that then exploded in a big bang that was simultaneously the most destructive and the most creative moment, giving birth to the universe and one day to return again to that singularity. And perhaps that process itself has occurred infinite times, like an inhaling and exhaling of a cosmic breath. Now, we also see a number of these types of events play out in real life in past life regression therapy. I've had clients who made positive changes in their present life through actions in the physical world, or through their intentions and thoughts and vividly updating these in their mind and imagination. And then they've come back for a session months later, and we've done another past life regression and gone back to that same past life and find that that past life itself has now changed and been updated and improved. So in the end, it all comes back to the present moment, the eternal now. When we are totally present, we go beyond linear time, and the consequences of that can flow into the future and into the past. In therapy too, people can have an insight and a realization that comes with a tingling bliss, a mental release, and a deep letting go and acceptance that comes with tears of joy and a swelling in the throat of gratitude and clarity. So they lose the fear of death as they realize that ultimately there is no death, no inherent fixed singular self, and there never was. Instead, they identify with the ultimate reality that has always been there beneath the play of what we knew initially and perceived as conventional human life. So the peace that passes understanding is a transcendent wisdom that gives us a therapeutic resolution. The Fountain's happy ending mirrors this with its increasingly wordless, emotional and visual symbolism as it approaches ultimate reality and the ineffable, that which cannot be communicated, but is the depth of ultimate wisdom. So tell me in the comments, did you resonate with the Fountain at a super conscious ultimate level? Did you find it confusing at a conscious level? Do you have a strong sense that one interpretation or another of the film is particularly correct? Have you done past life regression or a spiritual therapy and the Fountain reminds you of your own personal experiences? Or are you a therapist and have clients who have experiences like this? If so, tell some of your story in the comments below. If you've got any questions about past lives or spiritual awakening, ask me a question and we can continue the discussion in the comments also. If you found this video too entertaining, check out my educational videos on YouTube or at my website, the Past Life Awakening Institute. I have foundation courses to learn about hypnosis, hypnotherapy, past lives, spirit releasement, and I have certification courses to gain experience in these fields and become qualified through extensive assignments and one-to-one video calls that we have taking you through every step of the process. If you're interested in online sessions in past life regression or spirit releasement therapy, check out my website, the Past Life Awakening Institute, to book an online session. Check out some of these other videos that cover past life regression, spirit releasement therapy, between lives therapy, hypnosis and hypnotherapy, all based on other spiritual movies. Thanks so much for watching.